Hi, I'm Anna. I'm an anthropologist and I work in an architectural cooperative. I've been talking with Mustafa about a lot of things, but mostly about how we should position ourselves as practitioners when we work in precarious areas or in precarious works. And enjoy.
Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Anna, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. With summer here fully installed in Lisbon.
So you just came back from the vacation, if I understand you correctly?
I came from I took 3 days off to go to a music festival.
Nice. In Portugal?
In Portugal, yes, in Sines.
Nice. Did you enjoy it?
I did. It's a festival of world music, so it was good.
Yeah. So now back to work, right?
Back to work for 2 weeks, and then again 2 weeks of holiday.
Cool. So Anna, I'm really happy that we have the time to have the conversation, and let's start with you. How would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your passion?
Okay, so I'm based in Lisbon. I'm Portuguese. I'm an anthropologist. I currently work on an architectural cooperative. I'm also back to school, back to the faculty to do a master on artistic practices. It's called aesthetics and artistic practices. And my work it goes on different ways depending on the project we're discussing. It can be more theoretical or more policy based sort of, or it can be a more field research, like a more classic anthropology work.
Yeah.
So
And take us back in time, like where you grew up, how was your childhood?
okay, I grew up on the outskirts of Lisbon, in a place called Linda Velha. I moved and I did all my school there. Then I moved, when I went to the faculty, I moved to Lisbon, lived here for a couple of years, and then I moved to first to Paris and then to Amsterdam. And I lived in Amsterdam for almost 10 years.
Wow. And what is like, what are you passionate about?
It depends on the days. Depends on the days. Well, I'm passionate when our work makes any difference, not only for us in a very ego. Although I think you only do what you do because your ego is in there. I mean, you need to be happy with it. But I think what makes me happy in this sense of work is how when your work actually produces some change or some result that everyone feels comfortable and happy with it.
And because you work with architects, right?
I do.
How is it to work with architects? Is it easy or
It
difficult?
depends. Sometimes it's easy, and but it depends also on the projects. For example, when we did, well, in Terras it's easy. Also because I'm normally the one that is more present in the neighborhood, so it's a different. The architecture comes in a different way to the project. But for example, when we did what we called here is housing strategies for the municipalities, for example, it was very much a teamwork, because we had to. It was my view or my gaze as an anthropologist on the territory, but also the other members of the team that are architects, and so it was a combination of. When it's a more classical project, let's say, sometimes it's difficult, obviously, because I'm not an architect, so I just make questions. I just raise questions. It's up to them to design them.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's
Yeah,
different.
and when we talked before, you emphasized that it's important that when we do a project, it's also about a long term. It's not only like for the few days or few months, and then that's it. So it's very important that like how we plan and play along the project and after the project. So can you like share with us some projects as an example of what you mean by the long term?
Well, I think in that case, Terras is the best example. Terras is a work that started around 2012 with a university workshop on the. First of all, Terras da Costa is a sort of an illegal barrio, if you're in Latin America, self-constructed, very precarious. The houses don't have water. They have access to water through
Is it in Portugal?
It's in Portugal. It's 20 minutes from Lisbon, on the south part, in Costa da Caparica, near the beach area. So we did a workshop, university workshop there, and then in 2014, with a lot of stories in the middle, but we with another collective, the warehouse, collective warehouse, we built a community kitchen that was actually an excuse, so to speak, to bring water points close to those. Almost, it's around 55 houses. It's not big. And the community kitchen, it's actually never really worked as a kitchen itself, but it works perfectly as a collective space. The only really collective space they have in the area. And then we stayed, and then another struggle came. It was for them to have legal electricity. Normally those barrios don't have.
Oh, wait, take me back. Like who is the client, or give the project?
Okay,
Is it the city?
No. So it's very strange. This case is very strange. We were financed by a private foundation, a cultural foundation, Fundação Gulbenkian. But our clients are the inhabitants. For us, it's very clear. Our clients are the inhabitants, but who's paying the service was the foundation.
And the aim was?
The aim was to build the first project we did with that was financed with Gulbenkian. It was the kitchen, the community kitchen, and the second one was already with the municipality, with us, and with inhabitants, to envision a process that could lead to a participatory project to rehouse, to build a new neighborhood with proper conditions. And in the middle of this, the police came and dismantled all the illegal electricity. So the municipality put it generator with and then we started a 23 month long process of building the legal infrastructure and the contract with the. So that's what I'm saying with the play along. I mean, we've decided to stay in the area. And then things started happening, and we started to, okay, if we stay, what's our role? And our role, it depends on what's happening at the moment. So so that's why I say the play along, and also the long term. I mean, we had and we have the wish that they can be properly rehoused in a way that they are the ones deciding where they would like to live, if in a tower or floor. So that's the struggle. But what happens in the middle, if you decide to stay, you just have to play along and see what's your role in every moment. I think that's why I'm saying this is a very good example of because it's for example, I'm in the bairro for 7 years now. Yeah, 7.5 years. And it was I can tell you that actually this project, the kitchen, the first, was the reason why I've decided to come back from Amsterdam and come back to Lisbon. And then I stayed, and I'm as long as I feel I have it's important what I'm doing there, and it's important for them more than for my personal pleasure.
So why it became so important to you? So you actually changed country and came back?
Yeah, well, at the time I was already not very satisfied with living in Amsterdam. Nothing against the Dutch, but I'm very from the south. I'm actually more of a south than on the north. And I was already planning what to do next, and if I wanted to go back to Paris or just, I don't know, go to São Paulo or whatever. And then I was already friends with Tiago, and Tiago told me of this project in Cozinha that I had to see. So I came on the summer when they were building the object. I stayed there for 5 days, and I said, okay, it's fine. Okay, I'll close that. So I went back at the end of August, beginning of September, to Amsterdam, closed the house, and came back.
Yeah. So like this in this area there you built the kitchen. This is like a little community of how many houses you say? 50?
55. It's a community now. They're only Cape Verdean. Well, it's all Black community, all of the inhabitants, and they are from the former colonies, mainly Cape Verde, but also from Guinea and São Tomé. But when we arrived there, there was a second nucleo of the bairro, more close to the, let's say, formal city, that was also constituted, besides the Black community, also from Cape Verde, a Roman community also, but they were already rehoused.
Yeah, but the community, they have, how to say, legal documents and
Most
insurance
of them,
number.
some of them have, mostly women. They're the first ones to, for them it's always an urgency to have legal documents, especially because of the kids. For men, it's not that it's not important, but normally they are, but they also has to do with the type of work, because normally women, they can more easily get a contract, even if it's a precarious one or just a few hours, but they have a contract that allows them to take care of the legal papers. And for the men, especially if they work on the construction, it's sometimes difficult for them to have the stability enough to have so it depends. What happens sometimes it's that they have papers for a period, then they stop, then they again apply. For the women to have the stability is also important for the kids to not have those stress, and also because most of the women, as soon as they can, they apply for Portuguese citizenship, so that they can give to the kids, and at least they're safe.
Yeah, so by the money of the foundation, you made the kitchen, and the point was like to have a place to gather them together and to have like a water access because
Yeah.
they don't have water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was and it was called the kitchen because they have the habit to have collective meals, and they still do, even within in their small cafes, for example. They are close to the kitchen, actually. So that's why we've decided, okay, so let's think about a kitchen, and the kitchen needs water, so it's a perfect excuse to put some water points close to the houses.
And then the project turned to other ways because then there's no electricity, then the thing became serious, and then the municipality wants a vision. So yeah, tell us more about the story, like what happened after.
So after,
like the process or the journey.
Yeah, so after we applied for a second funding from the Gulbenkian. They gave us the funding, and the project was to prepare with inhabitants a possible projects for rehousing. How should it be done? What things are present? What practices can we see on the neighborhood that are important to be kept, and what are the others that only result from the precarious living conditions?
Because the municipality, the city wants them to move away, right?
They have to. Oh, I have to explain. They well, supposedly they have to, because the neighborhood is installed in ecological and agricultural reserve.
Okay.
Well, you can ask for the government to disaffect that parcel and to be urbanized, but at the time that was not an option. Now it may be.
Yeah, so the goal is like to relocate all the people.
They have to be removed. And the struggle was, okay, if they have to be removed, they should at least have the chance to continue to live in Costa. There's no reason for them to be spread. So that was the main thing. And to understand, for example, who has, because it's very normal, most of them have animals, like chicken, pigs, whatever, and also a small parcel for agriculture. So what we did was to map all those living habits and those practices with them, and to start to looking for possible lots of parcels of land more close to the formal city, and see how you can not exactly do a very specific neighborhood for them, but where they should be rehoused and linked to the rest, and then we'll see what happens. But that project was only at the end, it was only theoretical because it wasn't implemented. And then in 2017, the party in the municipality changed because there was elections and there was a political change, and the project was out. Now they're already thinking again about this question of rehouse or to see what to do with the neighbors, because of the government approved a series of legislation about housing and the urgent need to solve the ridiculously amount of people that still live in precarious conditions well, especially in Lisbon, but not only. And supposedly we will receive some European Union funds. So there's this urgency to resolve. So I assume that at least until 2026 they will be rehoused. I just hope that whatever projects they do, I'm not saying they have to do ours. Whatever project is done there, it should be done with them, because they're the ones that are going to be rehoused. So I think they have a word to say.
I mean, it's very. I mean, from my now, I'm sitting here, and if I'm trying to put myself in the community, and you come to me and to tell me like, okay, you need to move, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And then when you, I guess it's also for you, it's a process. It's difficult that you go to someone and tell them, okay, so where should we put you now? You know, like this kind of.
Yeah.
So how was these feelings between like you and the community?
Well, for me, it's very complicated because now I only go there like 3 times a month. But there was a period I went there almost every day, literally, Monday to Sunday. And it's complicated when you're in a process of discussing, because you are raising some expectations on them, and you don't know exactly if you're going to be able to fulfill them.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the things, well, for me there are 2 things. One is, although you may feel anguished or unstable, or you should never put yourself on a place that they're the ones comforting you, because they're the ones to be rehoused. So you later, when you leave the neighborhood, you can go and drink some glass of wine with a friend and share your thoughts, but there you should hold yourself. And the other one is never to lie, to say to them, okay, this is a struggle, this is a way we're proposing, we don't know if it's going to work or not.
Just be honest with them.
I think it's the only reasonable thing to do, is to be fully honest and say, we don't know. We wish we'll be here to do the whole way with you. We hope it works, and we want it to work. We'll do all our best, but we're not sure. If we are sure, okay, we can say, okay, we're sure, let's go, this is the way. If not, I think we should be honest and say, we don't know. Because it's not at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about me doing a beautiful project, or it's about them, that they're the ones who are going to suffer whatever happens. So I think they're the ones who have to decide, including telling me, okay, we don't want to go that way. Okay.
Yeah. So like when you say, now you say like being honest, and then the first one is like being professional and keep your role as you have this to do this.
Yeah.
But what happens with feelings and human beings? Like, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy. It's not easy. Of course, I'm there for such a long time. I have friends there now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I have friends there now, and people I really care about. So, and sometimes I allow myself to be there, not as a professional, but as a friend that goes there and drinks a beer with them, and it's fine, and goes to a. But they know that when I'm doing something, I don't know. For example, when we're discussing the question of electricity that's still going on, or any other things, they know that I'm not the friend that goes there and drinks some beer. Then we're working. But that is something that you learn, how to establish those boundaries. Sometimes it doesn't work that well. Huh? I'm not saying this is very. Sometimes it doesn't work, obviously, and obviously that's. As an anthropologist, I also know this. I mean, I'm there, and I'm asking them to trust me, and to also to tell me some of their wishes, and I know that's obvious that they expect me to do the same with them. and that's what I have to manage to see how far I want them to know things about myself. Some are more close than others, but it's inevitable that yes, you have friends. I mean,
So you interviewed them and to map how they live and what they need and their wishes, right?
mhm.
And what was like the scenario that we created as as a proposal, like to relocate them?
What we proposed, we did a series of different things with them, and one of the last was to discuss. We had four different possibilities of locations. So we went there with the four, and we said, okay, this is the four we found, and we think that can work. All of them have things in favor, things against, and represent all the things. We obviously had one we prefer, but we decided obviously not to tell. It's not. They ask, but you manage not to. At least not at the beginning of the discussion. Huh? Then we can say it, but at the beginning, I think it's very. You're formatting the thing. I'm not very comfortable. And then we discuss with them. Okay, so what's the best? And then the process begins in a different way. Okay, so then see how many houses does this piece can have. Okay, it's far more than the ones that are living here, which is good, which means we're not proposing a ghetto, for example. We also have spare space, for example, if the municipality wants to build, I don't know, a library, for example, which is for me, it's a very, it's always a very dear object, the public libraries. I think they're very important in every neighborhood. And Costa da Caparica doesn't have any public library. And I think that's makes no sense. So we started to proposing. So what we did was an exercise. We also inside the bairro, we designed all the houses inside. We did the plants, the houses inside the houses. Every house of the neighborhood. We not because we knew. Well, we are not going to simulate the same houses in a different context. But it's important to know the needs and how people, what type of expectations do they have on the idea of domesticity and the private space and their. So that was also an importance for them when we're thinking about the relocating. What exactly are these nuances that you also have? But we did, yeah, that's what we did. But mostly, I would say that most of the method we used was collective discussions, and that's very interesting because at the beginning, most of the women were very shy and would be at the back
And telling their opinion.
yeah, and they would say no, he's the one who has. And okay, but yeah, but at the end no, it was much more balanced, and I'm very happy for this.
But how because we face this also in Sweden, that usually white men take the opportunity and they take the lead and, take the stage. So what is your advice to us working with this kind of workshops? Is like, how can we give more space? Like, what are the key elements? Or
Be careful before giving your opinion. As an urban planner, yeah, be careful. Don't rush it. Allow for the others to say what they have to say about their living conditions. Even if you think, for example, that they're proposing things that you think it doesn't work. At the end, you will say it, but don't rush it. Don't rush to put yourself in a position of the expert, of the authority. Put yourself on the same level and discuss
So
it.
listen first, give the space.
Yeah, because I mean, especially if you're trying to do something that's more collaborative, you're not the authority. You have to know that, and obviously you have a different knowledge on some things they have on others. So just allow the conversation to stage, and don't be and don't be too attached to your own ideas.
Yeah. This is our problem, you know.
Don't be too attached. It's fine. Sometimes this is not a win-lose battle. This is a conversation, and especially because in this type of works, it's a conversation you're doing with the ones that are going to be affected. It's not you. You have your own house. At the end of the day, you go back to your house. So keep it more simple.
That's true. It's like it's not falling in love in our proposal. Like maybe in the end, it's about them. You know, we do something for them.
And maybe
them...
and if you don't put your and if you don't allow them to question your proposal, you will never know if it works or not, because it's not for you.
Yeah,
it's for them. So they're the ones who have to say, yeah, I think this is the best, or no, I think this is good, but I also want to change here. I think we should think better on, and maybe at the end it's your proposal, but allow for the free discussion, for the free talk.
exactly, for the feedback.
Yeah.
But also, like Anna, the thing here is that usually it's limited budget, and which affect that how much we listen to people, because we don't want to get so much feedback to change our fancy proposals.
Yeah,
you know?
but I'm not.
What do you think?
I think that's a lazy. I think that's lazy.
Lazy excuse.
Yeah, it's a lazy excuse, because you always have a budget restricted. I mean, rarely in this profession as an architect. Now, as an anthropologist, that doesn't apply, but as an architect, it's rarely that you don't have a limited budget. And if you don't have it, it can also be complicated, because you can do, if you don't have any restrictions, it's also complicated. But you always have a restriction, so don't use it as an excuse for not doing a proper work. And also in this type of works, I think that if you have already a budget defined, go and discuss with inhabitants. This is the budget we have. We cannot do all this. What can we do with this budget? It's fine. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's a lazy. It's like if we have a small budget, or it's not only that we cannot do a very fancy object. It's also the idea that the others don't understand the implications of negotiating between materials and budget. They do. If you present the ideas, they do. Everyone does. It's fine. No. So I think it's more of a lazy and a very attached to your own, not wanting to put your idea on the discussion, I would say.
Yeah, I think like we are kind of afraid of hurting our proposal or our fancy project. So that's why we don't want really to show it up to others, in order to not get so much critics to change it.
Precisely.
Yeah. So like what happened after the workshop? You collected their opinions about the proposal?
We presented to them, and then at the end, as a result of that second funding, we did a sort of a booklet that is now a book published, finally, 5 years later. And we also delivered to the municipality the result. Then there was elections in October 2017. The party wins the elections is a different one, and the project stopped.
Okay. So what was the conclusion from what you submitted to the municipality?
The conclusion of what we concluded
Yeah,
What we
yeah,
concluded was that we should think of houses maybe in a more adaptative way, sort of, not necessarily as in a Aravena's fashion. I hope. I have some critics on the Quinta Monroy, but in a way to think that houses have to be adaptive, especially if you think that for public housing, especially for lower classes, the perspective that those families will one day have their own houses. So I don't know if we're expecting a revolution, but if not, it's probably not going to happen. So the houses have to, in some way, accommodate better the expansion of the family. And another two things I think was really important was to map all the families that will continue to have and the wish to have their small land to uh, produce food, and especially because if it's now it's so fashioned, the urban farm, I mean, they're doing it already. So and another one was to design a new neighborhood that could allow some of the outside living life that exists now and doesn't exist solely because of the precarious conditions. It also exists, for example, if you think about the kids, most of the kids live only with their mothers, and their mothers have crazy hours, scheduling working hours. So it means that normally the kids arrive before their mothers, and someone in the neighborhood will take care of several of those kids. So it's important that the new neighborhood continues to have this sort of safety space, safety public space, or outside space or collective space for this to continue to happen, because it's not with the new house that the mothers will have better jobs.
yeah. And if I just understand correctly, so when you move the people, the community, it's the area is not built. The municipality need to build the area, right?
Yeah,
The new area.
yeah. Whatever happens, I mean, even now that well, that it's not our project that's on the table, but I think it can also be a disaffecting the area from being a reserve. But I don't know. But you will always have to build new, because those houses cannot be rehabilitated. They're very badly constructed.
Yeah. And what is the situation of the community now? Like it's the project is stopped, right?
Yeah, they're waiting. They're on pause, I would say, which is a very not nice place to be. They're waiting, and life continues, which is very strange in a way. I mean, you have people know that someday maybe they will be rehoused. They don't know when. So this means that, for example, every year at the end of the summer, they start question, okay, are we gonna be rehoused this winter, or should I do some works here so that the rain doesn't fully come inside a house? So it's a very it's like it's like if you live literally day by day. You don't know, tomorrow we'll see, tomorrow we'll see. It's not it's tense.
I understand. Like I can partly understand because also like if, from where I came from Iraq, because of the war, we have refugees,
Yeah,
and also like the same condition. Like you live in a very poor place, and you don't know if tomorrow you're gonna move
or
or
not.
you stay or not. You know, it's like it's this struggle every day.
Every day, yeah, yeah. If you do works, if you, I don't know, for example, there it's like should I do works to decorate the house, or it's money I will, because no one will pay me back. So it's very tense. It's very unfair, I would say. It's very unfair.
Yeah. And nothing changed, right? Because like now they don't have electricity also.
They do. They have legal electricity since 2017. We managed.
Okay, that's good.
We managed. It's the only area, the only bairro in the outskirts of Lisbon that have that has these conditions, that have legal electricity. It's a struggle. It's not easy because they only have one contract, so they have a collective contract with their association, and it means that every month we have to split, and everyone has to pay. If not, we don't have money to pay. It's 5 years struggling, and that's part of my work in the last 5 years. It's been I did all the process of the discussion of the electricity model with them, and now I continue, and I think I will continue until they exist there. I think, in a way, I think, yeah, doing one thing or the other.
Are there many communities like this in Lisbon
Yeah,
or on the border?
you still have in the south part. I know more at least two big, much bigger than this one. One is in Trafaria, not very far away from there. It's called Segundo Torrão, and it has almost 500 houses. And there's two others in Seixal, which is the municipality close to Almada. You also have one with 300 something houses, and another one that it's called Jamaica, but Jamaica is already on the process of being rehoused. And Jamaica is a very different context, because Jamaica, they are fully inside the formal urban area, and they occupied some towers that were not fully rebuilt. So they build it. It's very interesting, but it's much more dangerous than if it's the floor houses, because they are on the tower.
Yeah, I
so
can imagine the
imagine,
safety and everything.
yeah, but they're the Jamaica is already in a process of being rehoused, and I think between this year next, I think everyone will be rehoused, and the process is being done with them. So it's a different thing. But yeah, and then you have some small groups still living in these conditions, and then on the north, so here in Lisbon, close to Lisbon, you still have also two or three areas, but you don't have. We had a lot of those on the 90s,
Why did it happen?
because we had a dictatorship, and when the revolution came in 74, we had a gigantic housing crisis, but really gigantic, because in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, still in Portugal, a lot of Portuguese white people left their villages and came to Lisbon and Porto, especially Lisbon, to work on the industries. And they had no conditions, so they were living in a precarious ways, most of them, in different typologies, but everyone, it was that. And then after 74, after the revolution in the 80s, we received a lot of immigration from the former colonies, and we received them in those precarious and yeah, disastrous ways.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
So like in the past years, the government didn't do so much.
No, they didn't on the 90s. On the 90s, they did. It was a thing called Plano Especial de Realojamento. So it was a special plan for rehousing. And it was, it's obvious for all of us, it was it had to be done in such a short term, because we had the expo in 1998, and it would be not good image to have so many tourists here. So it wasn't a very good process, because it was massive constructions, far away from the city centers, and with no transport planned, with no infrastructure. So we're still dealing with it, and also because the program took very long to be fully executed, and the lists they did of the needs were done in the beginning of the 90s, and some of the rehouse were done, I don't know, 2002. Obviously the families grow and change, but they didn't want to, so they have to adapt. Some others didn't adapt, so it's very chaotic. So now we're hoping that maybe this time we can try to do some, at least try differently.
Yeah, and Anna, in your opinion, like, what should the government or municipality really do now in order to work with this?
I think the municipality should really build processes with the inhabitants, not only with the ones that are going to be rehoused. I think that in every level of urban planning, I think it's an obligation to discuss, to explain the options, explain why, and also even in the design of the streets, or to understand the needs of those that are living in the area, but also the dreams they have of a space. I think it's an obligation. It's a democratic obligation to have a discussed planning, and again, not having this fear that if you do a participatory project, or process, or discussion process, that you're abdicating of power. It's not yours. I mean, it's relax.
Yeah, chill.
Chill. It's not. No one's hurting you, or taking any protagonism. You're still the experts who's gonna design it better, but discuss it. And also, that's also valid for the politicians. I mean, it's very, I think, sometimes embarrassing to see some of the politicians going to those to meetings with the population, but actually wanting to convince them of their brilliant idea. Like, I mean, why? I think, well, maybe your idea is brilliant, but listen to the others. You're not here to make a discourse.
No, it's interesting project, and like, hopefully, hopefully they will continue and it's back again to
I
life.
hope
And
so. I hope at least that they're listening. I think that's my main wish, is that whatever results from this, that at least it has their contribution. Obviously, you will change ideas, and obviously one thing, on the rehousing processes, this, that um when they're rehoused, another wishes and another dreams came. And they will miss, even if the former houses were very precarious, they will miss because they have memories from that. That's normal. But my wish is that at least someone considers the wishes and their opinions.
yeah, because like, it's interesting that we say rehousing, but we are talking about people, right?
Yeah.
About lives, memories, and
And not really rehousing, it's housing, because they're never it's the first. Yeah. And also I think one thing that's also important to know, because in Portugal we have this expression that it's like, the municipality will give them a house. It won't give them. They'll be the municipality is the landlord. They will pay rent. So it's also in the terms of the language and how you present this. I think it's important to discuss it, because okay, you can say this is an illegal area, they don't pay any rent, or yes, that's also true. But it's also true that now they live in their own houses. Some of them actually build the houses, others don't, but didn't. But some actually build. It's their houses, so I mean, respect that. Even if
Exactly, yeah.
even if we know that the houses have very difficult conditions, they know it as well, so it's fine. And after they're rehoused, they will start to have to pay rent. So the status that and the attachment they have with the house also changes, and that's also a thing that should be worked with them, so that they can fully appropriate this new space and actually again feel it as their own house, because sometimes that doesn't happen, and it's a very you will have some very conflicts that are very nasty. Yeah.
Be honest with me as you always. Do you think this gonna be solved in the coming few years, or no? This will take so long time.
I think part will be definitely solved because we have to use the money. If not, we will have to give it back. If it's going to be solved for everyone, no, I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. And that's a shame, again. Because again, in 10 years, we will have the same conversation with different.
Yeah, maybe with more even bigger challenges.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. No, it's like a very, very interesting project. Yeah, I never talked about such kind of project in the podcast. I'm really grateful that you shared this story with us.
Thank you. It was good to share it.
I hope
Good
you have more
idea.
energy now to move to the last section of this episode.
Yeah, let's go.
You do? Yeah. Or the pre-last. So, like, what is your advice to us as urban practitioners? What should we stop doing when we develop cities?
One of the things I think should be stopped is to plan it for an illusion of the generic inhabitant that doesn't exist. The generic inhabitant usually is a, well, if you read it in a feminist perspective, it's a white male middle class, and the city is much more complex than that. So the idea of the generic doesn't exist. It's the same as the neutrality. It doesn't exist. You have a side. You may not want to share it, but you have a side. So I think one of the thing is, okay, if we're planning whatever parts of the city, because you never plan the whole city and at the same time. So first, try to understand what is at the present happening in that parcel of the city, and then elaborate the questions. Don't elaborate necessarily only from your ideas or from your outside perspective. I think that's the main thing I would say, is that be more careful when you elaborate the questions, and elaborate them from the field and not from the office necessarily.
But do you feel like maybe this is more a theoretical question? Do you think, like, let's say we're gonna listen to different communities, and different communities has different needs and wishes. Then if we really follow the communities, then we're gonna see a different city. Like, it's not there is no standard, because every community needs different things. Then we don't have the. Do you think the city gonna be chaotic because here is something? Then here, what is your like reflection about
I don't
this?
think that the city will be chaotic, but I think we have to abandon the idea that the city will be totally clean and suitable for everyone. It has some chaos. It has.
Yeah.
It has. It's not really chaos. It's the complexity of too many people from different backgrounds or different expectations living together in the same place. I think that's fine. I think what is complicated, and I understand that's complicated for the ones planning, for those who are planning, is when, for example, you are in a very I don't know, yeah, conflicting area with different where you have clearly different communities, let's say, and then you have to do something that can be suitable for everyone. I think that may be complex, but that's something you can also think to do if you go step by step. I mean, from understanding the needs to negotiating with them on, and not with them separately, with them on the same meeting, because it's also on the they also have to be on the same contract with each other. One of the things I think it's more problematic is the question of time, because you normally, when you have these projects, you always have a limited time to do it, which is absurd, because I mean, after that the works will take time to be done. Why short it on the parts that it's more interesting, which is what exactly should be done? So I think that's the main one of the things I would say it urgently needs to be changed, is the importance of giving more time to this process.
And what skills should we learn?
All possible, even
No,
constructing.
give me two main skills.
I think listening is clearly a skill that it's been overrated. Listening without wanting an immediate answer at the end of the meeting. Be more patient. Then I think one of the skills is that to learn as an urban practitioners to really work as in a multidisciplinary teams. I know it's sometimes it's conflicting, because I don't know, sociologists or anthropologists, and we all have different perspectives, but that's the point. That's the point, that the engineers and the architects, and then the sociologists, and then the, I don't know, the people coming from artistic practices, or performers, or the people who have stores in that street. That's the that's the difficulty, but I think that's the more challenging, and the more I think, at least for me, it's what excites me more. It's this having this capacity to all work together, and it's without the need to see who's going to win. That's
Yeah, I think this is how to say, this is the main point, that like to understand the aim is to make the quality of life for people better. It's not about who was winning, me or you, or
exactly.
yeah, I think it's
And if
a kind of
everyone is
mindset.
relaxed at the end, what results
Yeah.
is a combination. It's
Yeah,
obviously a
exactly.
combination.
We have to, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
Interesting.
that's the thing.
And when you say listening, because I hear this a lot, listen to community, listen to children, listen. But how can we be good in listening? And what do you mean by listening? Okay, I sit there, I listen, then
No, what I mean by listening is that you have to put yourself in perspective, I would say. I mean, when you go to listen, for example, children, obviously they have a very different life experience that we adults have, and each adult has a different one as well. But obviously kids have uh, less life experience being alive. um, don't rush on saying, oh, those are kids' ideas. Listen to them, actually try to understand what is their perspective. You don't have to, I mean, I give you the example of Terras on this. I'm white, I'm a white woman. I know what it's like to suffer from prejudice, but I never suffered from racism or from being a black woman. So I have to listen what they have to say, even if for me it's a surprise, or if I think maybe they're exaggerating. But listen, consider their opinion, not as sort of an exotic thing that I have to do. It's their opinion is as relevant as yours. And if you do that, that's what I'm telling about listening, is that we have to learn how to put ourselves all on the same stage, And it's from all the same stage that we're going to start discussing and listening to each other. Because if you want them to listen to you as an expert that has a different knowledge, you have to consider that they have a different knowledge than yours.
Exactly. I think we should start first, like to show the respect and
Yeah.
and really change our mindset that they have
Understand
the
they have
knowledge as well.
their
It's not only
perspective
us.
is not
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a bad or stupid one. It's just a different one from yours. Even with the kids it's the same. For example, we did a project here in Lisbon. It was in the center of Lisbon with the kids from a school, with 9-year children from a school. It was very interesting because what we wanted to discuss with them was what to do with the square that's in front of their school. And obviously they're the ones using it, so they're the ones. Obviously some of the ideas were very crazy, as kids go crazy on imagination, but that's good. I mean, that's how you start to elaborate, and also to teach them how to have a critic vision on their urban environment. And it was very interesting because it was me and another colleague here of the atelier, Andrea. It was very curious because it was a very honest discussion with them. I mean, my opinion is just as good as yours, and also, and in my case specific, I don't use that square. I don't even live nearby. They're the ones using it, so it's your needs that have to be considered, not mine. I can give you my opinion about what I like on a public space, but
Exactly. Not
that,
specifically
yeah.
on how to use it.
But
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying about the listening. Is this?
And the next question is that if you have a $1 million,
Ooh.
now you have so much money from the foundation, now from the podcast. So, on which kind of project related to city development you're gonna invest the money that you got?
If I had $1 million, I think I would build a collective space
Space like for a community?
for a community. Yeah, whatever. It could be a mix between public library, artistic experiments for kids and adults, and in a very in an area that doesn't have that and normally is not considered as important to have it. I think that would be my project. It's actually to sort of design a collective space for things to happen.
And like for you personally, working with this kind of project, do you feel like sad, depressed?
Sometimes,
You do that?
yeah. Sometimes, yes, of course.
And how do you deal with this? It's supposed that you work with something fun and you enjoy it and it's your passion.
Yeah, but it's not. It's for me, very honest. When I feel that, I normally go with I don't know. I meet a friend. I drink a glass of wine, share it with a friend.
What do you want people, like if people in 100 years from now will Google your name,
Mm-hmm.
what would you like them to read about you or to say about you? Like,
I don't know, someone that did the best it could at every moment. I think that's it.
is there something that you regret about doing it during your career?
Well, yes, I regret not having had an experience of working in Latin America or in Brazil.
Ah, okay. So because you think this will help you a lot, right?
I think it helps a lot, especially because the political and also theoretical production that it's done there, especially, well, I know better in some of the Brazilian universities are it's very important, and also because they have already for many years projects that combine the academic experience with the actually going to the ground and producing change, and not just exercises for students. And that's something I value a lot, because I think it's important that the students have a good experience while in college, and not a very delusional one, especially when you're talking about architecture students. But also I think that the work from the university should not be a bubble. So your work that you do on university also has to have a reflection on.
Yeah, I think you're raising a very, very, very interesting and important question about like how big is the bubble that we have in university, because like I really I hate it so much. Like in university we're living like in a dream, and everything is cool. I know that, I understand. It's because like to develop our creativity and so on. At the same time, when I go out to look for a job and I see the reality, it's completely something else. Then I don't have the enough skills to deal with the reality because I'm too much in big dreams. I mean, balance is good, like collaborations,
Mhm.
balance is good. I'm not telling that we should stop like
Yeah.
being so visionary. Yeah, but not,
No, it's
but like,
important, and it's
but
also important the bubble
something
sometimes.
attached to to reality somehow, not completely.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm saying the bubble is important, especially for you to expand your the capabilities of creativity without having this need to contrast it with the reality. But 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 as an institution, you cannot live on that bubble the whole time. I think you have to, and it's important that what you do and also what you think and the theoretical production you do, it's also a reflection of the world,
Exactly.
the
Yeah,
work in the field that you do. So I think that they should both um, work together in a way.
I agree with you. Like it's like finding this link and balance, but not be completely separated. And how is it
Yeah,
going now?
yeah,
Like, do you
that's it.
have time for your hobbies? Because I know you start to study, you work. First of all, how is your
Well,
life balance going?
I
Like work
have.
life balance.
Nah, sometimes good, sometimes bad. No, now I'm really hoping for the 2 weeks break, so that I can just do nothing and go to the beach and read. And on the other days, it depends. Again, some weekends I can rest. Some others I have also work to do. But I'm not always very good at distinguishing between work and life in general. So things mix up a little bit. So I'm life balance. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
going like one
yeah.
day at a time. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing I learned. It's one day at a time.
Do you have
Then we'll
hobbies?
see it. No, well, one day at a time. Sometimes, well, on the summer, yes, I go to the beach every time I can, which is something I adore, and I would love to have a house very, very close to it. Like if you can open the door and go directly to the sea, that would be
Amazing.
my dream. Um, and I read a lot. I'm always buying books, and I think that's my more constant hobby. Should should be listening to music and reading.
Is it like books related to your profession or no? Like anything?
It depends. It depends on my interest at the moment. Normally, yeah, they have some interest for my, but more than for the profession, it's more, for example, if I think it's useful for a project, or I think I should uh, learn more about something to reflect on a different. So it's for the work, but it's also for me as a person, as someone that wants to reflect on what I'm doing here and how I position myself in the world. So
Are you also dreaming about writing your own book?
I will have to someday sit myself and write a thesis on terras, so that counts as a book. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, no, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Never thought about it.
So now we are in the last section of this episode, and we have three questions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about you giving
Mm-hmm.
messages. So the first question about you giving a message to yourself.
don't be so anguish with processes. Play along a little bit more. Relax a little bit more.
Great. And 3 takeaway messages to the listeners.
Don't be afraid of what you don't know. I think that would be for the 3 of them. Like, don't be afraid of what you don't know, of whom you don't know. They don't know you as well, so relax. Learn how to. This thing about the other, for example, it's something that troubles me, because we're also the other, so it's fine. It's okay. I think that would be.
And the last question is going to be you asking it to us. What is your question to us?
What moves you to do this podcast?
Okay. And to the listener, like me and the listeners, what moves us to do what we do?
To do what we do, yeah. I think that's a question. I think it's always important that we ask ourselves from time to time. Make sure we're happy with what we're doing.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for giving your time to this podcast. I'm really happy to have this conversation with you.
Thank you too for the invitation. It was a pleasure.